What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here, and hop aboard the hype train because we are discussing Mass Effect Andromeda, specifically the weaponry involved in this new game. Because over the past few days, a ton of information has come out via official videos about how the weapons are organized, what weapons are going to be depending on where they're found in the galaxy, the mods, and more. Now, guys, if you enjoy this content and want to see more, please remember to support it by liking, commenting, and especially sharing. It's a simple thing to do, but it really helps me out, especially as someone who doesn't normally do Mass Effect. Now, let's get started with this information. First things first, let's discuss how the weapons in Mass Effect Andromeda are broken up, because that's going to reveal a lot about how the game functions, especially about how gameplay is going to play out. So, firstly, there is pistols. Now, this is followed by shotguns, sniper rifles, assault rifles, and melee weapons. Now, let's take the time to break down those different weapon categories with more depth. Firstly, we have pistols. Now, a lot of you who have been playing Mass Effect 3 may notice, wait, where are the SMGs? There is no SMG submachine gun category in Mass Effect Andromeda. It looks like the submachine guns have just been moved into the pistol category. In fact, you'll see under pistols, the Hornet, which is a submachine gun in Mass Effect 3, is in this category. This actually does make sense. I think BioWare was just looking and thought, you know what, we don't have enough to make an entirely separate pistol and SMG category. We just don't have the diversity there, so we're going to combine them into one pistol category. And again, it does actually make sense in real life. Submachine guns are often called machine pistols. The MP5 is the machine pistol 5. The UMP45 is the universal machine pistol 45. They shoot pistol caliber rounds. So it actually does make logical sense to do that. So again, even though there is no official submachine gun category, a lot of your favorite submachine guns, like this screenshot showing the M9 Tempest, are returning just in the pistol category. BioWare described pistols as close-range options. They have a lot of power but just don't have the accuracy or range to compete with assault rifles in those medium and long-range engagements. Now, moving on, we have shotguns. These are, even more so than the pistol category, the close-range weapon category of choice. However, they lack the flexibility than something like a submachine gun. You have to get right in people's faces. You're going to have a usually shotgun spread pattern with your pellets, so you're going to have to be close enough that you're going to want all of your rounds to hit that opponent. Now, also revealed in this screenshot showing off shotguns, and it's a great time to go over this, we have the entire loot system in terms of rarity also revealed in this one screenshot. Firstly, it shows that the shotgun selected is a returning favorite, the N7 Crusader. Specifically, you have the 6 version, and actually, interestingly, you can see down in the corner, you also have the 5 version. Both have a checkmark beside it, so perhaps both are selected. A little bit weird how they chose to do that and not just upgrade the one version universally. However, this could be an earlier build of the game. The reason I am pointing this out, however, because the N7 Crusader is listed as an ultra rare shotgun over in the right corner of the screen. And it shows this symbol with the red line through it as the ultra rare symbol. We also have a bronze M23 Katana 5. This is followed by a silver Disciple 5 and then a gold Hesh 5. So we have all of the different rarities in Mass Effect 3 returning in Mass Effect Andromeda, with, I guess, the baseline version has been replaced by a bronze version. That would make sense. And then we have silver, gold, and finally ultra rare returning. So we get a look at the loot system and how that works as well. Now, next up, we have the sniper rifle category, which is the exact opposite of the shotgun category. These weapons are tailor-made for long-range engagements, often coming with high-zoom scopes that will help you take down enemies before they even know you're there. We have a lot of different sniper rifles on offer in this one screenshot. You can see a lot of the returning ones. The Black Widow is featured. I'm sure a lot of people are happy that's returning. The N7 Valiant, the Indra. So there is going to be a lot of returning weapons in Mass Effect Andromeda, but we're going to get into why there is a lot more going on than just a bunch of Mass Effect 3 weapons returning. Now moving on, we have the assault rifle category. This is going to be your middle-of-the-road, jack-of-all-trades, essentially, weapon category. Assault rifles are going to be decent in medium range, better at long range than a lot of the other categories, better at close range than the sniper rifles. They're just useful in a variety of different gameplay circumstances. And there's also a ton of different variety within assault rifles. Right here, the one you see pictured, the N7 Valkyrie, is actually a double burst assault rifle, at least if it's keeping the same dynamics as it was in Mass Effect 3, and you actually see some gameplay with it and it looks like it is. We also have fully automatic assault rifles. We have a bunch of different variety within this one category, so that is definitely one of the strengths of this category. Now moving on, last but certainly not least, we have an entirely new weapons category to Mass Effect, which is the melee weapon category. Now the different melee weapons in the game are differentiated by a couple of different factors. Firstly, the damage. Worse melee weapons, normal bronze level melee weapons are going to do a lot less damage than the ultra rare melee weapons. On top of this, you have a huge differentiating factor being the attack speed of certain melee weapons. So a massive Krogan hammer is going to do a lot of damage, but it's going to take a lot of time to actually hit that opponent. And God forbid if you want follow-up hits, it's just going to take forever. However, a fast and nimble Asari sword, for example, is going to do less damage, but you're going to be able to attack a single opponent multiple times very quickly. So that is a pretty neat way of differentiating the melee weapons in Mass Effect Andromeda. Additionally, it was mentioned by a BioWare developer that you can craft pretty much every weapon in the game. He mentioned that you can craft a Krogan Warhammer, you can craft a bunch of different assault rifles, sniper rifles, all of that stuff. So that is pretty neat. You can go out and earn, I assume, the blueprints and then get the materials to make the weapons you actually want to make, which is definitely neat. And I'm assuming that may apply to multiplayer as well, kind of taking on a, forgive me for saying this, but it is a fair comparison, a Call of Duty Infinite Warfare style of microtransaction system. We know that microtransactions in the form of Spectre packs are returning in Mass Effect Andromeda. However, it was also mentioned that there is a special currency. This could be like your crafting currency where you can specifically buy certain weapons. And that is definitely good. And again, that is comparable to Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, where you can get stuff randomly out of supply drops, or you can save up your salvage, which is an overall currency, and buy the specific weapons you want, which I think is a good system. It is a little bit of RNG, but it's also kind of introducing a catch-all way of avoiding that RNG and getting that last weapon. For a lot of us, the Cerberus Harrier comes to mind, that you've just been screwed over again and again by the RNG system. Now, of course, microtransactions and RNG, a lot of you guys who maybe aren't up to date with the Mass Effect news may be kind of concerned about that. Microtransactions are definitely not looked upon as a positive thing within a game. However, Mass Effect has done microtransactions pretty much better than anyone else. Mass Effect 3 had a pretty heavy microtransaction system, but it offered completely free DLC content because of this. We got new characters, new weapons, new attachments, heck, even new game modes, new maps, and entirely new enemy factions, all for free because of microtransactions. So as long as they're doing that same model, I am totally okay with the return of a microtransactions system. Now moving on, a very exciting new feature that's going to be drastically impacting and differentiating the weapons of Mass Effect Andromeda is going to be the technology category they fall into. And depending on what category they fall into, they're going to have very different characteristics. This is going to impact all of the different weapons categories I've previously covered. So pistols, shotguns, sniper rifles, and assault rifles, and presumably melee melee weapons are all going to be impacted by their technology category. Now, the first technology type is the Milky Way weapons. These include all of the returning Mass Effect weapons. So the Matic, the Black Widow, the Tempest, all of that stuff is the Milky Way category of technology. And this means that the weapons shoot normal projectiles like bullets and have to reload every once in a while. Now that's the weapons we're used to. However, there's two entirely different technology types that are for weapons found in different regions of the Andromeda galaxy. First up, we have the Remnant weapons. These are going to shoot energy beam projectiles and are going to not have to reload, but rather they're going to rely on a cooldown system. So you'll never run out of ammo, but if you shoot these weapons too aggressively, you're going to overheat your weapon and have to wait for it to cool down. This is somewhat similar to collector weapons within the original Mass Effect series, stuff like the collector beam and other weapons with a cooldown mechanic. However, these beam weapons do have a greater degree of accuracy when compared with their non-remnant counterparts. Now, the other new technology type is Helios weapons, and these are from the Helios cluster of Andromeda. These are plasma-based weapons that have slower than usual projectiles, but those projectiles actually do benefit from heat-seeking capabilities. So these have not really been in Mass Effect. This is an entirely new weapon type that we're seeing, and I'm very interested in how these weapons play out. You can have very powerful Helios shotguns because when you're close range, that slow-moving projectile doesn't necessarily matter as much. I would presume these weapons do also pack a punch because enemies do have the capability to presumably roll or duck out of cover and avoid the projectiles. So you're going to need high damage to compensate. Not only that, but it was revealed that several Helios weapons also have charging capabilities, where you can hold down the trigger to charge these weapons, making them deal more damage the longer you take to charge them. Now, moving on from there, we also got a very interesting look at how augmentations and modifications will impact weapons in Mass Effect Andromeda, and this is coming from a Mass Effect Initiative video. Firstly, it showcased the M6 Carnifex pistol, a very heavy-hitting pistol returning from the original Mass Effect games, with a grenade launcher augmentation that literally turned it into a grenade launcher, basically turned it into the Falcon from Mass Effect 3. That is a very interesting adaptation that you can potentially put on weapons. Now, we also got to take a look at a katana shotgun with laser rounds, so this could be a new ammo type in Mass Effect Andromeda. However, moving on to the assault rifles, we have something super interesting. An M8 Avenger, which is just a normal fully automatic assault rifle with the electrical conduit augmentation, turning it into a electrical beam of energy. This is insane and very different than anything we saw in Mass Effect 3. So the augmentations and attachments in Andromeda could be vastly changing the behavior of your weapons, which is super cool. And so guys, that is going to be it for the weaponry of Mass Effect Andromeda. I've got to say, I am extremely excited for the changes coming to this game, especially for the different technology types and the addition of melee weapons as an entirely new gun type to Andromeda. This is really going to differentiate it from Mass Effect 3. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it informative. Now, if you did, please remember to help me out by rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Mass Effect content, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. Now, if you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.